All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda Thiel. If you haven't met me or seen me before, I work at Argonne National Laboratory, and I lead the CyberForce program effort on behalf of the Department of Energy for the National Laboratories. Tonight, I have Eddie Mullins with me, and as I mentioned in the chat, if you have questions, feel free to throw them into the chat or the Q&A. We'll answer them throughout the time. But just to keep out from potential chatter and whatnot, everyone's muted at the end. We can work through unmuting people if it's easier to ask the question that way, but otherwise we'll do it from this way for the moment. So today's webinar, which we've done for the last several years, is our 101, kind of understanding the basics of the CyberForce competition, as well as kind of going over any sort of changes that we have coming up for that year, so for 2025. So to get started, I just like to throw up a quick acknowledgement. The CyberForce program is not possible without the support of the CSER office. So that's the Cybersecurity, Energy Security, and Emergency Response out of the Department of Energy, who funds the CyberForce program for the large portion of it, especially for the CyberForce competition. So for those that are brand new to the CyberForce competition, as if you've never participated before, whether you're a new school, new student, maybe it might be your second year and maybe you're still not fully grasping what the purpose behind it is, or you came in last minute. So CyberForce competition, not initially named that, back in 2016 it started with the sole purpose to provide college students with training on a cyber physical, hands-on, but energy-based scenario. Why? The goal and the role for you is really to think through not just cybersecurity, but for us to ideally build the pipeline for energy sector and Department of Energy and the national labs and all the other critical infrastructure sectors out there. So instead of just looking at your IT or your general server administration that school tends to really think about when they think of cybersecurity or security in general or computer science, you kind of get a very quick learning education on cyber physical industrial control systems, ICS, SCADA systems on specifically for us an energy component. So every year you're going to get a different one if you come multiple years. Some years we have a little bit of overlap, but throughout the day then, obviously it's too easy to just give you one thing to do. We give you a whole bunch of other things. It's really meant to be a day in a life of an energy security professional at a company. So again, if you've never participated, this graph probably still won't make a lot of sense, but bear with me. So we have a lot of colors, no different than a lot of the other competitions out there. So this is how we define our colors. The blue team is the defenders. That's you if you participate with your university on a team. So that's when you get documentation or you hear things moving forward here, you're likely the blue team. If you're on here as wanting to volunteer, you're going to be something a little bit further. The blue team is really the defenders. You're going to get an infrastructure and you're going to defend it along with a lot of other things. Red team is our attackers. Those are volunteers, lab personnel, industry, federal government employees and whatnot. They come and they're ideally attacking the blue team. We also do an assumed breach model, which I'll go through in a little bit. The white team are your administrators. That's us as the National Lab staff, the ones that put it on, that build it. We're there to help communicate with everyone basically in this chart here in the event that there's any issues that arise, whether you need something. So we're providing out. Then you have your green team, which are your users, your owners, your operators. So we provide you something that you're going to have to build for them or keep up to date. And that they'll have to use. So thinking about, whether it's your mom or your dad, whether it's something that they would use at work or whatnot, that's something that a regular user would have to be able to use on a daily basis. And then finally, we call their orange team. That's our C-suite. So think your CEO, your COO, your CISO, the high levels of an organization. Not everyone has technical knowledge. And so in this orange team is where we look at our soft skills, and you'll have to write and speak to those high level individuals and ensuring that you provide a complex topic in very little technical jargon for them. And so, like I said, we'll go through that in a little bit, but that's kind of our communication structure. It seems very simplified here. A lot goes on, but in essence, you know, again, the main thing is as Blue, you kind of communicate with everyone, you kind of do it all. Along with us as the National Lab, we're there to kind of support you. So as I mentioned, we do scenarios. The scenarios are really just the backbone behind like, what are you actually defending? So as you can see and read here throughout the several years that we've put this on, so this will be the 11th CyberForce competition. Don't count like how does that work in years. We went a little nuts in 2018 and did 2 in 1 year to swap from a spring to a fall. But in 2025, we're going to go to offshore oil rigging. So instead, so you'll see kind of we've gone through several different scenarios this year, meaning that you don't have to be a master. What does that mean? Like, oh, I have no idea what offshore oil rigging looks like or what the SCADA system would look like. What would I do with that? We provide you documentation of like, what do you minimally need to do to keep that up and running? What is expected of you? If there's something that is scored on it, here's what is expected, or how does that connect into the website that you'll need to have to, you know, have up and running. So it's all there. You're not needing to become an oil expert over, you know, several weeks to be able to participate. It's just the fact that we're trying to get everyone a little bit immersed into how cybersecurity relates to what we utilize every day. So then the scoring breakdown. So if you participated, you know scoring is a beast for CyberForce. So I'll go through the amount of teams, but so we have 5 main scoring categories when it comes to the CyberForce competition. So they're red, blue, green, orange, and anomalies. So as you can gander, a lot of that had to do with the colors until I hit the anomalies. So red will score based on the exploitability of inherent vulnerabilities, and then as well as our assumed breach model that we have. So there's 2 sets of scoring that's done within red. The blue team, there's a service uptime. So I know that sounds a little convoluted because you're like, I am the blue team, but there are services that you're required to have on your systems, whether they're, well, they're provided to you for the most part, but they're in systems that you'll have to ensure are on there without, you know, breaking or whatnot. And or you might have to build that service in. So think HTTP or whatever we're asking for on a particular box, you'll have to build it. And then it'll have to phone home to our scoreboard system and be considered up throughout the entire competition, and you'll get points for it. And then we also, as I mentioned, do an ICS uptime or some sort of algorithm or however we calculate it each different year to ensure that you're actually ensuring that the particular energy scenario that we have is working and is up. Our green team is based on usability and or quality assurance, quality control. That's QA/QC. So typically what we provide out is a website for the blue teams to have to work through and fix. So think getting a very terrible website that is missing links, is linked to wrong things, has the wrong picture, maybe doesn't have any information on a CEO website or like web page. Is missing data points, is not updating with any information from your industrial control system. Those are things that you'll get an entire checklist of here's what the green team is going to be checking for. And it's on you as a blue team member to go through and validate that each of those would be checked off to be accurate. So if it says the CEO's name is Amanda Thiel, should have a picture to the right, the bio should say this, then you need to make sure as a blue team member that that's what your website has. The orange team, as I mentioned before, is where your soft skills come in. That's when you're going to give a C-suite panel brief. That's the pre-competition. So we do have 2 pre-competition requirements. I'm going to use that word a little bit softly, I guess, here. Everything is a requirement. It's up to you to complete it. So if you don't complete it, it doesn't mean that you can't participate, but that is a significant amount of points that you don't get. But so orange team is your soft skills. C-suite panel is, think of it as an elevator pitch. It's very important to be able to know how to communicate technical information to the appropriate audience. So when you're speaking to your CEO or your COO, asking them, hey, I need money, or hey, this cyber attack happened. If you're talking to the CEO, they're not going to want you to explain what the specific malware did or what happened. They're going to get lost in the sauce, to be quite honest. They want to know dollars and cents. What are you doing about it? Do they need to talk to someone? They need to be briefed at a level in which they're going to understand that they need to talk to stakeholders and whatnot. So it's taking very technical things and turning it to make sure the audience understands it. Same for security documentation. That's, again, a little bit more technical, but what you're going to take is your security documentation is taking everything you've done in your infrastructure, documenting your vulnerabilities you found, what you see, what you've done, and then determining what your future goals are. So that comes with a template for you so that you don't have to makeshift your own, but that is another pre-competition thing. And both of those, no different than what you'll see later for the rules in general, will have their own fireside chat to run through like what to expect or what would help you get a good grade for it. And then anomaly scores are what we like to call our real world challenges and tasks. Those this year are changing slightly. So if you're returning from many years past, those will be looking slightly different this year. But take those as, no different than, my job is not, we'll pretend here. If my job is to sit in front of a computer for 8 hours a day to stare at logs to make sure that no one attacks my system, and all of a sudden my boss says, hey, Amanda, I need you to go to this meeting. It's an hour long. It's taking 1 hour away from me to go to this meeting and not stare at the logs I was supposed to be looking at all day, every day. That to us is a real world challenge because who's not going to be looking at those logs for that 1 hour? So not to say that that's one of the anomalies, but those are what we like to look at as one of the challenges is how do we take people's eyes off the computer screen to not stare at what red team's doing, what green team's doing, what everything. In part, you do have a team of 4 to 6 people, so it does allow you to kind of work in other skills that people have, whether that's math, whether that's writing, whether that's someone who loves encryption, forensics, whatever the case is. But so those are available so that you have additive things. So you're not just kind of sitting there tapping your hands on the table. So quickly, the C-suite brief. So you have it here in a little bit larger. Again, you'll get a scenario based for it. It's really meant to kind of challenge the team. It's really assuming that we go with the same setup, which I'm going to guess Anne's on here. She'll give me the thumbs up, at least probably in the chat, is that we encourage the entire team to participate in this and not leave it to one. Understand this picture. That's why I put a date on it. Was pre-COVID and it was a much smaller number of teams. So we did this in person and it was a 5-minute pitch with one person coming to us and, talking. Because there's about 100 teams with us now, we do this prior to the competition. It's recorded and you send us the link for that recording ahead of time. So we do all the grading and everything prior to the competition. We finalize that so that by early morning of the competition day, that score's in and ready to go. Again, you'll get a scenario slightly off from what the main one is, and that you'll have to go through, identify, talk about, articulate the incident, talk about it, record yourself with your things, and then you'll turn that in. Basically, then once you're done, you can forget about it. It's off your plate, one less thing. and then you move on to the next. The C-suite panel will occur before you even get your infrastructure. So just like the last two competitions, if you've participated, we've provided out the C-suite panel scenario, instructions, the rubric, and everything you need to be successful, including the fireside chat for it, prior to anyone even getting their AWS infrastructure. And we're going to continue doing that moving forward, just so there's not a lot of what feels like juggling, bowling pins going on for you, knowing you're in school and everything else around that time. So just keep that in mind when you are registering, signing up, and looking at the dates. Documentation. So again, the goal is to make holistic defenders of you. So I know not everyone loves writing. I'm going to raise my hand here. Writing is not my favorite thing to do, though tends to be what I get put on the list to do. But that includes documenting what you are doing. So part of understanding what you build and defend is ensuring that others can pick it up. So if tomorrow you decided to leave your organization, like as much as you may or may not love them, you want to make sure that all the hard work that you did isn't just deleted. And that's likely what will occur if you aren't documenting it. So this is really just to identify, what did you find? What did you do? What did you want to do or whatnot, based on the rules, obviously. And those will all be documented. Like as I mentioned, we provide a template here for you so you don't have to go off and make something. Again, one of the main areas is we do not like you to reference your college or your university in anything. This is really to ensure that there's zero bias when we look at anything. So unfortunately, no logos of any kind, no mascots. Don't say I'm going to pick on them because, ASA just won, but go Penn State. Nothing of that sort on anything that we give you. That includes any of the infrastructure we provide. Please keep it as generic as possible with the organization's names that we provide you. Quality assurance is our green team. Again, old saying, I probably date myself when I say this, but the most secure computer is really turned off and buried 6 feet underground, meaning it's dead. It's not on, we're good. But at the end of the day, the green team really does need to be scoring you based on what they see. So if you telling them hey, you need to log in, but here's 10 passwords and you need to put them in a row in 30 seconds, it's unlikely that anyone's going to actually be able to do that. So you just want to make sure that when you're actually working through the dysfunctional web page, think about it in the mindset of probably one of your most difficult family members. Who's the family member that calls you constantly to say, hi, honey, I can't figure out how to open up the web browser here, or where's the exit button on XYZ's page? I don't know where Internet Explorer is anymore. I lost this link. Think of that person when you're working on your website and figure out, how do I make it for them? That's my best piece of advice for everyone to get your full points, because inevitably there's no screening for our volunteers. Literally, we make these so that it's honestly any person, because everyone works on a website now. Everyone needs to be able to figure out what we tell them, which is straightforward, the same as yours. So if we tell them on the top left, there should be a drop down, and then the drop down, it should state the second name should be Eddie Mullins, then it should be clear as day. They actually get pictures, so it'll help them be more clear and accurate, versus you as the blue team don't get pictures. So you kind of have to really think the words and think through, who's the person that I need to think about to make it work. All right, anomalies. As I mentioned, we slightly altered this year. So I won't go into too much, but think of anomalies, like I said, as exposing you to other challenges that may not necessarily be within the competition itself. It supports Red Team with some of their exploits, and it also just takes into account other technical challenges, whether that's getting you out of your chair or whatnot. So anyone who was there last year knows that I personally, they might not have loved them, did some physical anomaly challenges where you had to get yourself out of your seat and look for things around the competition space. So, throughout the time, it requires you to do things. They're optional. Again, I use that word optional. They are worth points. So if you don't try to do them, then you just don't get the points for them. Dependent on the difficulty level will depend on how many tries you get for each anomaly. So there's always an ability for you to just take a look. It'll tell you, and then, have a look. All right. So shifting just slightly for anyone who's on that's not a student, I want to make sure I also cover volunteer roles really fast. Volunteer opportunities for people. So as I mentioned, all the colors already: red, green, orange, and then we have a logistics role, which isn't really a color, but it'll be like the maroon burgundish color this year when you see colors. So if you're really looking for a technical role, red team's the way to go. Those are the hackers. Obviously, the goal is to compromise the blue team in some aspect. You are required to complete a capture the flag prior to participating. So I know some other places don't have requirements or whatnot. This is just to ensure, like, unfortunately, we just can't take, I'm going to use it wrong, like a green red teamer or a novice red teamer. There's so many teams we have going on that it's just, we need to have some minimum level of knowledge to participate. So participate. We'd love to have people complete the capture the flag. If you do it, then we're more than happy. If you're someone from a university that wants to participate, but you want to do the red team, we'll have to chit chat first, because there is some like gray lines that we have to ensure are very clear on how this all works. Red team minimum requirements for volunteers, we do need active participation on the 14th and 15th. So 8 hours on the 14th and 8 hours on the 15th. So that's 16 total hours of your time for red team. Green team is what we, like I said, consider a non-technical role. That is literally anyone. So I've said my mom, my dad, my grandma, your grandpa, your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle, your friend, your teacher, your professor, your friend, your neighbor, your whatever down the block. Think of anyone could do it, because literally if you know how to work a computer in the slightest bit, maybe you even don't, you can work through the checklist that we have for people. They're literally in charge of the usability and the quality control. We need them on just November 15th. They can be virtual or in person. That's the same for red team as well. And it's a morning or afternoon shift. I would say give or take, it's about 2 hours in time at the max. So they can decide. Volunteer opportunities for us for the orange team. So there's the security documentation scorers and the C-suite video scorers. So both of those will be helping with reviewing and grading ahead of time. So those, instead of being on the 14th and 15th, are kind of the weeks prior. So I know these look backwards, and they probably are in the eyes of chronological, but they train right around that week of November 3rd. They go through a training session. And then the week of November 3rd, there'll be grading for the C-suite videos. So hint, hint to all of you on the call, if you're coming from a blue team, that means your C-suite would be due November 3rd. And then there'd be grading for those at roughly 16 hours, give or take, dependent on what you're available. They do take less. We would love more. And then for security documentation scores, again, it would be the week of November 11th. Hint, hint. That means that it would be due right around November 11th. I think it's actually November 10th, if I remember correctly, but grading would be right around that time as well. For security documentation, looking for roughly 16 hours. You don't need to be a C-suite person to participate in any of these. It's just the title that we give it for them. And then finally, logistics support. So if you want to come to the competition space and you want to help out with check-ins, t-shirts, ensuring that everyone is able to get where they need, what they're doing, help with just random things that we have throughout the day. It is an on-site only. We do them in 2-hour shifts on the Friday, November 14th, or Saturday, November 15th. Okay. All right, so now I know I've flip-flopped a little bit, but I wanted to make sure I got through that. So if you're on, and we're still talking about registration now for this year for CyberForce, if you're a team for schools and you're ready for Monday, which registration opens on Monday, registration process changed a little bit again this year. I know I've flip-flopped so many times on this, but I think we're going to just stick with where we're at. We're back to a team application. What does that mean for you? Mentor or captain will fill out the registration process for you. But that means the mentor or captain will need to know all 4 to 6 students that they're registering and whether it's 1 to 2 mentors. I know the last couple of years I've had a couple of teams that have had 2 mentors for certain with them. Minimum information required is full name for every student, an email that is an EDU, and an alternative email that is a non-EDU. Why? Email for EDU is to verify that you actually do attend school. Alternative emails because we have come to find out that lots of EDUs love to block things. So this is our way ensuring that when we send things to you, and while I love to make sure that captains and mentors are being accountable, we want to make sure everyone is getting things. So this is just to make sure that things aren't, falling through the cracks. The captain minimally is a phone number. This is just in case there's something that happens or arises and we need to get a hold of something. Level in school for everyone, their major. If anyone has had previous CyberForce participations, that's a yes, no. And then if you say yes, what is it? There's check boxes for everything. So think CyberForce Competition, Conquer the Hills, that's Rain, Adventure, Command. There's webinars, podcasts, career fairs, you name it, it's on there. And then the unisex t-shirt size for everyone. Mentors will be their full name, their email for their EDU, the phone number for them if you have it, and then a unisex t-shirt size. You are not required to have a mentor if you do not want one as a team. It is strongly encouraged just to have if you're a team that is new. They're not allowed to support or help you on the day of. Prior to, though, sometimes mentors tend to help out a bit in making sure that all the red tape or issues that maybe come arise more on the logistics side are helped through on your school. Once you submit your registration, your team application, an immediate email will go out to every single individual team member and mentor that you will have to complete your own image release eligibility, your Saturday lunch preference, and any dietary restrictions that you have. Your team application is not complete until every single team member and mentor completes that requirement. Trust me, I will not think twice to keep a team on hold until that's done. It's a requirement of me. So everyone must complete that before I move it to either an acceptance, a waitlist, or a denial. So captain or mentor will fill out the team application. Once that's done, it'll go to individual team members. Hence why I do ask for a phone number or an alternative email, because we all know, including myself, I've fat-fingered emails before. So it'll also kick back to me immediately or anyone else on my team if an email comes back bad. Every individual team member then will have to complete their own. It's one form with all of that. Image release eligibility, your Saturday lunch preference, and your dietary restrictions. Once that goes through, it'll get kicked over to my team where you'll then get an email whether you've accepted, waitlisted, or if there's been a denial for some reason and your why. In the event, I really hope we don't have as many, but I know things happen. In the event there are team changes this year, we will need, whether that's adding, editing, removing a member or a mentor. You're going to email everyone's favorite email address, which is cyberforcecompetition@anl.gov. Your team will then receive a link from us to make the requested change. That individual, again, then will get that individual link to have them fill out the image release eligibility and their lunch preference and everything else. and then we will ensure or hassle you to make sure that that gets done. So what's next? So CyberForce Competition, if you didn't see the dates, forgot the dates, or just want to ingrain the dates on you, November 14th and 15th. So it's kind of scooted back 1 week this year because we were really inching ourselves up to like the Halloween timeframe. So November 14th, 15th, 2025. Remember, there's prep work. I've stated that, I think, a lot, but I'm going to say it again. Contrary to what a lot of other competitions have, we provide your infrastructure ahead of time. You also get to make edits and change your infrastructure ahead of time. So you'll see all that when you get your rules. But the amount of time you put into the competition is equal to what you get out of it. So if you choose to ignore the prep work, if you choose to not look at your infrastructure until literally Friday or Saturday of the competition, you're probably not going to get a lot out of it. But if you take the time to look at it, really work hard on it, you tend to get a lot more out of it at the end of the day. Remember, this is in-person only for any student teams. There is no hybrid. There is no virtual option for you. It is in-person only. And this year we've moved. So we are not at the Q Center this year. We are at the Tinley Park Convention Center, which I will show you in just a second. Registration is open on Monday, so July 28th. I gave this week to be available for our rain winners. So registration's open on Monday until October 3rd, or until all the spots are filled. So we will select a max of 100 teams. This is a team competition, so remember, you must have 4 players, no more than 6. We don't do alternative students as like an alternate like other competitions do. So please do your best to determine what team members are available, or we'll make the alternative edits later if someone needs to back out. So Tinley Park Convention Center. So for those of you who have never seen it, never heard of it because you're not in Illinois, that's all right. We did move over to Tinley Park Convention Center in part. It is double the size of the Q Center. So if you've been to the Q Center, you know it's a fairly decent size. This is 50,000 square feet. So Q Center was about 21-ish. So a few positives, a few negatives, you know, hit or miss were here. It does have an adjoining hotel. It's called the Even Hotel. So as you can see right here to the right, hopefully, it does have 2 queen bed standards, which can host up to 4 people max in it if you want to get really close and friendly with your team, or a 1 king standard, which again can be 2-person max if you want to get really cozy with your friends. There are only limited on-site accommodations, though. They will not be able to accommodate the total 700 people that tend to come to this. So we'll come to a first come, first serve. It requires an event code, which you will get once your team has been accepted. So once you're accepted into the competition, we will provide you the event code if you choose to want to stay at the Even Hotel. If you don't want to stay at the Even Hotel, if your school has a, you know, max budget per night or whatever, literally, I don't know, but hopefully my screen, there's all these hotels right here or many others. This is the Tinley Park Convention Center. Literally, I would say Frogger, but this is a very busy highway, are literally all right here in this circle. You can get any flavor hotel you want. So if your school is a Hilton partner and prefers you to stay at Hilton, if they prefer you to stay at a Marriott, there is so many options for you in this little circle drive that literally you just would come right over and be able to circle around. So many options, many different things available, so you don't have to drive as far as you did if you chose to stay outside of the Q Center. Okay. With that, are there any questions? Sharing. See if I can figure out my. Go ahead, Stevie, if you can unmute, I think. Maybe. you raise your hand, I can unmute you individually, but it's like it turns into that. So, okay, that's fine. So with respect to members of the red team, if members can participate remotely so they can communicate with each other via Slack or to Discord. So red team communicates via Discord, just like the students do for CyberForce as well. So everything is done on Discord for CyberForce, but there'll be two different options. Question came is how involved can mentors be when it comes to a pre-competition materials? Like, can they give feedback on presentation or documents were submitted? Absolutely. So they can, in fact, give you feedback on it. They can also, hopefully this doesn't kill everything. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure that everyone can unmute. That they can provide feedback. They can let you know if they, hey, I don't think you hit this particular mark in the rubric. The difference is that we don't want to have them. So when you get your infrastructure and you need to have service, like I said, HTTP, if you don't have that in your system, that's not something that your mentor should be building for you. This is a student competition. So if you don't know how to do something, we would prefer you to, you can talk with your mentor, ask them if they have any good strategies, suggestions, websites, but Google is your friend. The Discord server will be available, and anyone that's participated in many years past will potentially be able to help if you ask the question as well. So that's all available for everyone, as well. Christopher, I also missed yours. Are competing students required to be U.S. citizens? They are not. I did allow people to unmute, so if you can unmute now, I think that worked. So let me see here. Is logistics the only volunteer role that must be on site? Is there a preference for volunteers that can show in person when filling other roles? So the only one that's mandated to be on site is logistics. That is correct. The other options that do have an on-site role that you can choose is green and red. Orange is all virtual because that's pre-competition. But when you go to fill out your volunteer registration form, it will ask you, once you select your role, if it has an on-site option, it'll ask you whether or not you want to be on-site or virtual. And then we'll move you through the process of whether it's on-site or virtual. Like the Q Center last year's, does the Tinley Park cost include meals for 2 days? So it does include the meal for 2 days, slightly different than the Q Center. Your lunch will be chosen during your registration process. You'll be able to pick between a handful of sandwiches for your Saturday lunch versus going up and picking what, your feast of feasts. So again, it's a little bit different in how they handle some things. So we will be letting everyone know what the menu is, I guess, over there for them. We are trying to be mindful of everyone's dietary restrictions and accommodate, but it is not entirely like the Q Center in the sense of the buffet dinner style that they had down at their, I guess, cafeteria, but it does include your dinner on Friday, a snack on Friday. It includes all your meals on Saturday, including snacks. So Samuel, you didn't miss it. So blue teams will get access to their infrastructure 2 weeks prior to the competition. So I guess if we do our maths, I got to bring up a calendar here. They will receive it November 3rd. And that'll also be the day that your C-suite video will be due. which means that you'll get access to your C-suite information, typically right around October 27th. It gives you the week to do that. That means your elevator pitch, you get together with your team. You can all do it like this as well. So you'll see the many different options of what's a good video, what's a bad video. That'll be due on November 3rd. You'll get access to your AWS infrastructure, all of the rules, and then your security documentation will be due on November 10th, which is also prior to the competition. So keep that in mind. And those two things, once you turn those in, you're done with them. And then those two are off the plate. Go ahead, Christopher.
How many teams can a school have? Are they limited to one?
Great question. So the teams or the school itself can register more than one team. There is no guarantee that more than one team will be accepted. But historically speaking, last year we had 2 teams per school max. And in years prior, we've had more. So I don't want to discourage schools from only putting in one team and saying like, we just did one, but we would love to do more. If your school can accommodate more, feel free to register. If we get to the point where we are getting to the like cusp of like maxing out, if there's a preference on the, if you're like, I could do 5 teams. If there's a preference order, we usually reach out to the mentor or the captains and say like, is there an order in which the teams you'd like us to work on, just so that we're not randomly selecting based on, just because someone got stuff in first, unless there is a team that didn't put in all of their eligibility stuff first.
Thank you.
Then talk about the total cost for the stay. So again, that'll entirely depend on you as a team. The competition itself. So again, I guess I never really say this, but I think maybe it's just in my head. The competition itself is free. So there is 0 cost to have your team sign up, enter, participate. No cost to anyone for any of the infrastructure, nothing. So the only cost that comes out is the cost to travel and the cost to stay. So each person will be slightly different. I know some schools, they drive, some schools will fly, some schools will, I want to say walk, but that's a lie, will train it in. So the cost for travel there, Tinley Park in and of itself, the hotel room to include, it includes tax, is $152.06. So that includes two queen beds, which can fit a max of 4 people in there. If you're looking at, I don't want to say saving money, but if you're wanting to, only get 2 rooms, but putting 4 kids in a room. Otherwise, if you divide that by 2 in comparison to what we used to do at the Q Center, which was I think like $90 per room for one, this would be, just around $75 per person if you put 2 people in a room. So we're trying to also be cost conscious. So the room itself, I'll put it in the chat here if I can spell correctly. This is the queen or the king. They don't differentiate. It's the rooms itself are $152.06. That's at the Even Hotel. I'm sure if you look at other ones, that's the price they gave us. You could also look at the other ones and see if you could get something at a slightly less rate if the cost is of concern. Tinley Park is not a super expensive city. Red team question is a prerequisite CTF offered on demand or on a single day with other participants. So it's available at the beginning of October typically, and you have, I would say, about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks to complete it. And then if you don't complete it, or dependent on where you're at, the red team leads tend to ask if you plan to finish it, or if there's any concerns in regards to overarching, if you just stopped because you are over it or whatever the case is. But the red team leads and the other stuff, they have like help, the ability to help you or get through if there's just like one area that you're stuck in. But once you complete it, then you get added into the full red team Discord of like this year's. And then, yes, I would say midway. Oh, here's a little bit further, but again, that'll all depend on your flavor of what you like to fly. Southwest is midway, and Delta also goes out of midway. If you fly anything else, it'll be O'Hare. It doesn't matter whether you pick that room or if you go to a room in the Fairfield Inn or the Hampton Inn or the La Quinta across the street. All of it includes the meals that we discussed. So everyone will get a dinner on Friday if obviously if you're there at the time when dinner is served, and everything on Saturday. That is covered by the program. Any other questions that I can answer now or Eddie could answer now? I hear you, Carlos. The question for anyone who listens later is how long will it last to complete it for the red CTF? I don't think it's longer than 8 hours. Honestly, I think it really is a handful of challenges, mostly to ensure that like some of the basic challenges that go into the red exercises that they have, a red teamer can handle on their own and are not expecting someone else to do. So even if you had to ask for like, hey, I'm stuck on this particular part and they help you with a hint, it doesn't exclude you from being able to do a red team thing. But I don't envision it taking several hours. So I would say it would be less than the 8 hours, but I can validate with them. Anyone else going once? Twice? On a lighter note, I will try to get my son to come back. I think it'll depend on the date time for him, but we'll see. But all right. Thank you all so much for joining this. If you have questions after this, feel free to email us and we will get them answered. Registration opens on Monday, bright and early, so get your teams in. And in the meantime, if you have anything, don't forget to reach out. Otherwise, thank you everyone for joining and we'll talk soon. Thank you.
Thank you.